Now, I want everybody to take a piece of paper and a pen and get ready.
Is it test eraf?
It's a quiz.
Can I also put it as my notebook?
You could put it in your notebook, sure. Who needs a pen? Pinchas, you need a pen? You have paper. Now, do you have a pen? Yes, you can use it, sure. Who else needs a pen? I don't have any more. You have a pen? Maybe in there. Pinchas, you have?
I have it.
Very good. You can use it. You can use it.
No, I have it.
Okay. I have it here. It's yours.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Question number 1. Pass me a piece of paper, please. Question number 1. What is tevel? Explain what is tevel. Oh, should I write it on the board? The question? So everybody can see? Okay.
One is tevel. One.
Yes. Here's the questions for today. Number 1. What is tevel? Number 2. What is teruma? Number 3. What is chadash? Number 4. What is orla? Number 5. What are bikurim?
What?
Number 6. What is shevi'it? Number 7. What is chelev? Number 8. What is dam? Number 9.
3. Wat is 3? Shabash?
Chadash.
Oh, Chadash.
Chadash. D. Number 9. What is nikur? These are all Hebrew words that we've been learning. They're not just words, they're halachic concepts. Most of them are mitzvot. Or isurim. They're either positive commandments or negative commandments. And what is, number 10, what is melicha?
4. Chelek and 4.
Chelev.
Orla. 4 is Orla.
4 is orla. 5 bikurim. If anybody can't see, you can come up forward and write in your own words what these mean, what these 10 words mean, what the 10 concepts are, what the mitzvot are, or the prohibitions are. When you finish your answers, come and show them to me, please. You're done?
Yeah, I only can remember this.
Okay, let's see how you did. It's good. It's true. It's not complete. It says orla with an R in there.
Oh.
So that's not correct. No. No. Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. We're going to take it up in a minute. Anybody else finish? Not yet. Okay, no problem.
Rabbi, I realize this the Talmud study after the Torah passing.
Right?
Only Ashkenazi have this. The Sephardi they don't have.
Sometimes, yeah. Right. That's right. Yeah, I noticed that too.
This one I don't know. 4 and 6. So I let it go.
The other ones you know?
The other ones are new. This
Let's see if
one,
you're right.
I hope if it's right.
Let's see if you're right.
I don't know.
No. Yes, but it's incomplete. New what? Incomplete. That's great. That's right. Good. All right.
Oh, devil is not from Teref.
No, it's a different word. Confused you. I
That's
went back a
confused.
few days.
Okay.
See what you remember from before. Anybody else?
Everything is good except this.
Let's see, Pinchas. Let's see.
Wow. That's good. One.
Let's say Pinchas. Okay. Tevel. So you don't know?
No.
Truma incomplete. To who is the
What?
donation? To who? Chadash, you don't know. Orla, no. Orla, there's an R here.
Oh.
That's not Ola. Bikurim, you don't know. Shvi'i, no. This Chelev, that's correct. Dam, is correct. No. It's two different things. Milicha, that's right. Okay, so let's go over it. Let's go over it. Okay. Okay. We're gonna go over it now together. Okay. Yeah. So let's go. Let's do it together. Okay, let's look at the answers. What do you say? Number one, Tevel. What is Tevel? It's a name we call fruit. Nothing to do with meat. It's last week's fruit which has not been made kosher. All the years, if you don't take off what you're supposed to, it's prohibited. That's called tevel. Tevel. It's mixed. The word means all the prohibited stuff is mixed in. We have to separate it out.
10%.
Many other, more than 10%. There's a few different types. There's a few different kinds of things we take off. We learned about them. Maybe you were not here that day. Well, one of them was teruma. One of the things you have to separate from your produce, from your fruits and vegetables, goes to the kohen, teruma.
10%.
Not 10%. Ma'aser comes from the word eser, that's 10%. But teruma doesn't have to be 10%. Teruma has no measurement according to the Torah. The rabbi said it should be 2%. 1 out of 50 or
2%.
2%. Yeah. Teruma, to the Kohen, only 2%.
But tevel is prohibited, forbidden foods.
Exactly.
Which is not kosher.
That's right. That's correct. That's right. Teruma is the gift we have to give to the Kohen, and he has to eat it in purity. And it's the rabbis say it should be 2%.
Teruma is 2%.
Yeah. They give the Maaser goes to the Levi, and that's 10%. Ma'asel, the word asel. Ma'asel is to the Levi, and that's 10%. And then the Levi has to give 10% of that to the Kohen. That comes out to be 1%, right?
Yeah.
10% of 10% is 1%. So he has to give that to the Kohen. Also. What's the next one on the list? Chadash. Sorry?
Fruits. The fruit, the four.
No.
10%.
No. Chadash refers to wheat. Wheat, the new wheat from the winter. It grows all winter. And then you harvest it and you want to eat it. You're not allowed to. Until when? It's new. Chadash means new, exactly. The new grain. Until when? No. Grain is grown every year. It's not, doesn't last on the tree. The 16th of Nisan. There is a calendar date after which, in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, we would bring a special korban. Nowadays, we wait until after the 16th of Nisan has passed, and then all the new wheat can be eaten. Then it becomes Yashan. Yashan is the opposite of Chadash. Then it becomes old. Chadash is prohibited from the Torah.
Not to eat.
Not allowed to eat the Chadash wheat until the 16th of Nisan.
Okay, so Chadash
Is the new wheat. The new wheat before the 16th of Nisan. It's called Chadash. Prohibited.
Is fruit, but I don't know what fruit.
Grain?
Fruit.
What about fruits? Oh, bikurim, the next one. You go to the next one. Very good. Well, you skipped one. Number 4.
Oh,
Number 4 first.
Orla.
Well, what is Orla? Oh, no. Orla has 2 meanings. You're pointing to your body, that's okay, but the wrong part of your body. What's the Orla? On your body is the foreskin. On your organ. That's taken off in Brit Milah. They take off the Orla, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a second meaning of the word Orla, and that is the first 3 years of a young tree that gives fruit. It's forbidden for the first 3 years. It's called Orla, the first 3 years fruits.
Yeah, I remember that was fruit, but not the way.
Yes.
But
Confusing, a lot of details.
But this, the from the mitzvah from the tree that you cannot
Trees, only trees, correct.
from the Torah can.
Yes,
just
it's in
do
the Torah. The Torah says.
And also the concept of the way they do the children, they let
That's
them
where we
have-
learn it from, yeah. That's where we learn it from. A custom with cutting the hair only after 3 years.
Yeah.
But that's just a custom.
Not
Not,
everybody does it.
not everybody does it, no. It's not an obligation. But everybody has to keep Orla. You can't have fruit from new, young trees for 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, I went to my neighbor. Neighbor said they have this lemon tree.
Yeah.
Lemon tree. Then I said the fruit is from the Shemitah year, so I can take it from it. So like until when this the fruit the Shemitah year for this plant will be gone?
Good question. Good question. I believe it's Tu B'Shvat, so I think it's soon.
Okay.
But I don't think it's necessarily connected to a specific date. Why? Well, that brings us to. We'll talk about it in number 6. Okay, that's number 6.
Okay.
We're still on number 4. Now we're number 5. What's Bikurim? Number 5. Bikurim is a mitzvah that if you're a farmer, every year you take the first fruits. It's the same word as Bechor. Bikur, Bechor. Bechor means the firstborn. So the firstborn fruits every year, you have to take them to the Beit HaMikdash. Now we don't have a Beit HaMikdash, so we don't do it. But in the time there was a Beit HaMikdash, the first fruits, how many? 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10. How many?
7.
We read in the morning, after the blessings of the Torah, that these have no measurement. Hape'ah, we talked about that, the corner of the field. How big is a corner? No measurement. Ve'habikurim, bikurim, that's number 5. The first fruits, you can bring 1, you can bring 10, you can bring 100. It's up to you. How many you want to bring to the temple? Every year, when the first fruits ripen.
It's during Pesach, yeah?
No, usually it's a Sukkot, actually.
But when is Yom Bikurim?
Yom HaBikurim is Shavuot. It starts Shavuot and it ends until Sukkot. So, because most fruit trees ripen during the summertime. Shavuot is in the summertime, the beginning of the summertime. Sukkot's the end of the summertime. So between Shavuot and Sukkot is the time for bringing Bikurim, primarily. Okay?
Means no quantity.
No quantity. It's up to you. No measurement. You choose. You want to bring 1 pomegranate or 100 pomegranates. It's up to you. No measurement. There are some mitzvot that have no measurement. Okay, next. What's number 6? Should have been number 7. What does Shavuot mean?
To see? Shavuot.
How do you say the number 1 in Hebrew? Echad. How do you say the number 2 in Hebrew? Shtayim. How do you say number 3? 4, 5, 6, 7, Sheva. Shavuot is the 7th year. Shavuot. It's another name for Shemitah. It comes from the year 7, the 7th year, Shavuot. It's another name for the Shemitah year, and on that year, all the fruits are ownerless. No tithing, no Kohen Levi, no portions, 10%, 1%, none of that. Everybody gets to go to the field and take equally. Now, it applies to the fruit in the tree that grew in the 7th year. So lemons, they grew in the 7th year, but they're still on the tree now that the 7th year is over. So those fruits belong to the Shemitah year, and so they're still free. Until all those fruit that were growing during the 7th year finish, and then that'll start the next cycle of the 8th year. Okay? So we still have now, and you can buy lots of fruits, which, even though we're in the 8th year now, or the 1st year of the next cycle, the fruits are still coming from the 7th year, the holiness of the 7th year. Shemitah, Shvit. Okay, number 7.
Chelev.
Chelev. If you were here yesterday, you should know what chelev is.
Forbidden fat.
Forbidden fats. Very good. I gave my grandchildren this morning, I gave them cornflakes and milk. Chalav. Is chalav prohibited? Chalav is not chelev. Spelt the same way, but it's not the same vowels. 2 different meanings. Chalav is milk and chelev is forbidden fats.
It's the same root?
The same, it's a noun, so there's no roots. Roots is with verbs. This is the same letters. It's the same letters. I don't know if it comes from the same a joint meaning or not. Maybe, because I said yesterday, chelev means the best, the choicest. So the fat is the most delicious, right? Maybe there's the chelev, the forbidden ones are actually like separate chunks that you can easily separate off. That's considered to be the choicest, the most delicious. Nowadays it's not good for you. We know that it makes your heart stopped up. The blood won't flow if you eat too much fat, and you'll get fat. But in the ancient world, they thought the fattiest parts was the most delicious, sweetest. So chelev means the choicest, and milk comes from a cow. It's very sweet. Before they discovered sugar, they would give, for a treat to babies, they'd give them milk. Because milk is sweet. So maybe that's why milk is considered to be the best also. Maybe it's from the same word, chet, lamed, bet. But we pronounce them in different ways. Chalav means milk, chelev means fats, forbidden fats.
We should also see, like, Hashem said to Moshe, land of milk and honey. So you see the connection with good stuff.
Yes, it's the land of milk and honey. Right. It's interesting you say that because the Torah refers to the chelev haaretz, the best parts of the land. And that's not milk, that's the choicest parts, the best parts of the land of Israel.
And you see the agriculture mindset behind the words also.
Maybe, yeah, that's the source of it. Anyways,
The
dam. What's dam?
blood.
Exactly. Blood. In the context of halacha, we're not allowed to eat blood, to drink blood. What if you have a cut on your finger? Some people suck it. It's allowed. Human blood is not prohibited. The custom is that if the blood separated out of your body already, then we don't eat it. Like if you take a bite of bread and you see on the bread, ooh, there's blood because you were bleeding in your mouth. Sometimes you see blood. So you separate it off and don't eat it. It's not really prohibited because it's the blood of animals which is prohibited. Boker Tov. Kol tov.
Reminding ourselves today is Yom.
How do you say 4?
Rabbi, and that means Rosh Hashiva was giving his sikha today. You feeling good? You look like a professor.
He wants everybody to come to 12:20 class. Okay, anyways, what were we saying? About blood. Yeah, blood of animals is prohibited. We said yesterday the blood of fish is okay, and the blood of locusts, the ones that are kosher, are allowed, because that's not considered blood. The blood of animals is prohibited. Animals which are usually slaughtered. So that's why we have to take the blood out of the meat that we eat, and we spoke about it yesterday, okay? Yeah?
Milk for the human.
Yeah. It's permitted. You can eat mother's milk. The question is it considered to be dairy? We'll talk about it in a few days. Yeah?
At 14 years old. That's
That's not appropriate because of modesty. But if a woman pumps and there's a glass of mother's milk, I believe it's allowed to eat. Yeah, I believe it's allowed.
What about plasma suddenly when we brush our teeth, some of our blood came out.
Right. So if it's separated and if you get a cut in your mouth or you get hurt, you should spit out the blood if you can. But it's not really prohibited. We don't want to eat anything that looks like blood. Like I said yesterday about the eggs, 97% of the eggs that you get in Israel, they are stamped on it, and they make sure that there's no males and females. So they're not, what do we say? They're not fertilized. And so if there's a little bit of red, it's not forbidden blood. But the custom is if you see it, we don't eat it. We throw it out because, just like I said, it looks like blood, but it's not really forbidden. Right? Many times there's brown eggs that get a lot of brown spots. They even look red. It all comes from the peel. It's not in most places. I don't know if you go to the bush in Africa. I don't know. They're not careful to separate the roosters from the hens. But in most countries, they separate them because the chickens, the hens, which are there for making more hens, not for eggs. The hens which are there to make chicks, they give them lots of hormones. And nobody wants the hormones in their eggs. And so nowadays we separate off with the chickens that are for eggs, don't get the hormones, and only the hens that are making chicks, they get the hormones. So we don't want to get them. So they're very careful in the Western world to separate. And so almost 97% of the eggs are not fertilized. So we don't have to worry about it so much. Yeah.
Question, Ralph, because in the Torah it's stated that it's forbidden to eat the meat of an ostrich. No, ostrich?
Ostrich, yeah,
But
we say
is it
ostrich.
allowed
Yeah.
to eat the egg of an ostrich?
Who says?
Next question. If it's allowed.
If the animal is prohibited, then what it produces is prohibited. So if you have a non-kosher bird, the egg is not kosher, right? So the only question about that is, what happens with honey? Honey is an exception. Honey comes from bees. Bees not kosher. It's an insect. We don't eat bees. So there's two reasons given why we say honey is kosher. One reason is we learn it out from the Torah. The Torah speaks about honey. It says that Jonathan and Shaul, Jonathan was fighting, Shaul's son, he was fighting and he took some honey. Honey is clearly permitted, so either we derive it from the Torah or it makes sense if you say that honey is different than an egg. An egg is made in the hen's body, with its whole body, and it's processed, and then it's produced. Honey, the bee doesn't make the honey. It goes to collect the nectar. It stays here somewhere. There's a little sac, and then it spits out the honey, the little nectar, into the hive. The hive. So it's not really produced by the bee. So there's two reasons why honey is an exception. Although, Yeah, it's exactly. It's a factory. It's a human factory. That's right. The only thing you have to be careful is sometimes you have legs inside the honey. There's dead bees, so they sift. They filter. They filter the honey so that there's no leftover eggs or legs or bees or broken things because you can't eat the bee itself. The honey is kosher.
Rabbi, is a beehive, you can eat the beehive?
Yeah, if there's no legs there, if there's no dead bugs there, if there's no dead bees, the honey's kosher. So the honeycomb is the same thing. It's made from the same thing, I think. Okay, well, so that was dam. We got to dam. We got to the dam and the eggs and so forth. So dam. Dam is prohibited blood. Got to get rid of the blood from all the meat. Number 9. What's number 9? Nikur. It's actually still here on the board from yesterday. Nikur. It's removing the sciatic nerve and the forbidden fats. Nikur is the process of removing all the forbidden fats. And the last one is melicha. What's melicha? Salting. Salting. What do we use salt for? To draw the blood out of the meat. Okay?
During the months we have separation in the family. You understand, Rabbi?
You're talking about a woman menstruating? Yeah. What does that have to do with anything? It's also prohibited during.
Well, no, yeah, I know that this is forbidden.
So
But what's the reason of the separation?
that's a good question. It's not really connected to the laws of kosher.
No. It's not.
I say, there you go. Now I understand the way you're thinking. Hopefully you don't drink that blood. But
no.
no.
Of course not. But,
Yeah.
there is a very, it's not a hunky-funky, but when the people know that a woman has blood, they
Right.
they are. You don't see, you don't talk to them. You don't.
Where? In Africa, maybe. Hopefully not Jewish people. Halakha says you have to love your wife. Even when she's nida, you love her. So you have to talk to her, you have to be nice to her. You just can't touch her and you can't sleep with her.
No.
But you still have to be nice to her and still love her.
Even this.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Sure, that's right. You have to no touching. All right. Only relations are prohibited, and hugs and kisses because you are prohibited as well. But you don't have to send them out of the house. They cook the food. Though, even when they're nida, they're allowed. You can eat the food that she cooks. Yes. In the time of the temple. In the time of the temple, that was different. There was laws of purity and impurity. But nowadays, we don't keep those laws anymore. There's no temple. And so it's just a question of permitted or forbidden to sleep together, but not touching the food. The food is kosher. Oh, I remember you. Sorry? Yes?
And sitting on the couch, because it says in the Torah you cannot sit in the same place, but today if you take the bus and the woman before...
Actually, on most buses, they have separate chairs. Even if they're right next to each other, it's not the same chair.
But I mean, if the woman sit on the bus, she go on one station out, you come in the same place.
That's no problem.
Oh, because the Torah,
In the Torah, that's the laws of purity and impurity.
it changed. So that is not...
We don't keep those laws because there's no Bet Mikdash.
So let me say...
There's no prohibition to be impure.
But
If you're impure, you can't go to the temple. But you can be impure all day long, and we all assume that we're all impure. No paraduma, that's right. We've all been to funerals, we've been near people. So we're all impure.
But you cannot sit in the same couch.
That's together, not one after the other. One after the other is fine.
Okay, but
Just not together because you're going to be touching and you'll become close, and it might lead you to forbidden activity.
Kashrut.
You say that you cannot avoid the hair, but at the same time, you cannot sit in the same place.
You can sit in the same place, just like me and you are sitting now. We're having a nice
Yeah,
conversation.
yes.
So that's fine. You do that with your wife as well. You don't have to send her away to another house.
I don't want that.
No, when the Ethiopians came from Ethiopia, they had a lot of Jewish traditions and a lot of customs, but they were not the way we practice today. And one of the things was that they had a special house for menstruating women where they sent them, and they couldn't come back home until after they were clean. We don't practice that way.
Now we get close.
Okay. We don't do that. We don't do that. No. We don't have the laws of purity and impurity. Even with that, you don't have to send them away. There's rules about where she sits and so forth. But nowadays, as long as you don't sit together, it's fine. She could touch the food. You don't touch each other. She could touch the food. She could touch the tables and the chairs and the plates and everything. And there's nothing. She doesn't have the cooties. She doesn't have, that's not it's just closeness. Physical, sexual intimacy is prohibited when a woman is menstruating until she goes to the mikvah. But other than that, everything else, you can go out for dinner. You can have conversations. You can work together. You can do lots of things. But there's specific rules how not to get too intimate. Intimacy will lead to physical intimacy. But okay, that answers your question. All right, back to what we were talking about, melicha, nikur and melicha. Melicha, salting the meat, so that you can take the blood out. What's another method of getting the blood out from meat? Nope, not good enough. Tzliya, right. What's tzliya? We had it on the board yesterday. Roasting, good, that's right. Roasting it on the fire, that also draws out the blood. And that, at the same time, it cooks it, so it's really a shortcut. You can have a barbecue, and then you don't have to go through the process, first salting, and then cooking. But if you don't want to eat barbecue, then if you want to make a soup, you have to first do the salting, and only then can you cook the food however you like. As I said, most people don't do salting at home anymore. The only thing that some people do is that they do roast the blood out of liver, kaved. Liver, kaved. That is a special rule. Nobody can do melicha on kaved. It doesn't work. Salt is not strong enough to pull out all of the blood, because the liver is almost 90% blood. It's all blood. So you need something even stronger, and that's fire. It's roasting on the fire. And then you could take the liver and do anything you want with it. You cook it, and chop it, whatever it is. Okay, but that has... and I said at the end of yesterday that there is an Ashkenazi custom to keep separate vessels for the roasting of the liver, but there's room to be lenient with that as well. Okay? Yes?
The gauchos.
Who?
The gauchos.
Gauchos, South American cowboys.
Yes.
That's what a gaucho is. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. South American cowboys. Okay. It's good I know. Very nice. Okay.
Because they...
El Gaucho, it's a good meat restaurant from Argentina, yeah.
There is a very famous fact in the history. They fight against the Brazilian
Okay.
because of the way of salting.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
1872.
Wow. A war about how to salt the meat?
Yeah, because they want to sell the meat to Europeans.
Oh,
Interesting.
Monopoly.
Interesting.
Monopoly.
Let me tell you a funny story. We really need Bali Tshuva, and we need converts. Why? There was, and it's a very sad story, in America, New York, I think it was, a couple of years ago, they discovered that the biggest kosher meat factory, for years, everybody bought their meat because they thought it was kosher. And they did everything right. They did the shechita, and they did the nikur, and they did the malicha, and people were buying their meat for years and years and years. One day they discovered that he was cheating. The meat was not kosher.
No.
He was getting meat from somewhere else with not kosher shechita, and he was not doing malicha. He was not taking out the blood. And how did they discover it? The meat looks exactly the same. There was a woman, I believe, who was a convert, and she tasted the meat and she said, "This is not kosher meat. I know, because I know what not kosher chicken tastes like and what not kosher meat tastes like. And I can taste the difference." Why? How can you taste the difference? Kosher meat and kosher chicken are saltier because of the salting process, because of melicha. And she noticed, this doesn't taste the way kosher meat usually tastes. And they checked because she noticed, and they found out that he was cheating.
Oh.
And he was cheating. And they put him in jail, I think. Yeah. It's and worse, he should be whipped, making all those Jews eat not kosher food. So there is a different taste because some of the salting stays, some of the salty taste stays. Although we rinse it afterwards, we try to get rid of the salt. We have to get rid of all the salt, but sometimes the saltiness stays into the meat and the chicken, and it's not significant as blood anymore, so it's permitted. But so kosher meats tend to be a little saltier than non-kosher meats. Okay? Are we ready to move on to the next topic? The next topic about kosher. We're going to talk about Purim soon, but not yet.
The injuries?
Injuries, yeah. Injuries to the animal. You want to know the list of 70?
No, because you wrote there.
Yes. Terefa. It's called terefa.
Yeah.
An animal which is injured is not kosher. You can give it the best shechita in the world with the sharpest knife, and the most kosher rabbi came and checked it, but if you find that it has a hole in its lung, it's treif. It's not kosher. It's an injury. If they find out that it had, a broken leg, it's treifa. Not kosher.
Also treifa?
No, horn doesn't count as a treifa. There's a list of what are the things which make an animal a treifa. Okay? You had a question, Josh.
Just what you explained, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
in my experience, I've had someone ask me before going to a restaurant in New York,
Yeah.
a kosher restaurant,
Yeah.
that people often go to. It's very, very popular.
Uh-oh.
They're very successful.
Yeah.
And someone asked me, how do you know it's really kosher?
Aha.
And I try to come up with some sort of a clever answer, but
Clever. What is the real
they're
answer?
serving you.
Yeah. How do you know?
You don't really know.
You don't know. How do you
You
know?
go to a restaurant.
How do we try to
How
know?
do you know?
How do we know? The answer is simple.
What's the answer?
We have a system
It's just
that the rabbis go and they supervise. They make sure where they get the meat from, where they get the milk from, where they get the vegetables from, what they're doing with it. There's a rabbi supervising. What's that supervision called? It's a Hebrew word. Hashgacha. The mashgiach is someone who supervises. So there has to be somebody checking to make sure that they're doing everything right. Sometimes, like the story I told you, he was cheating. He put a fast one over those supervisors. The supervisors were fooled. In the middle of the night, he would get a shipment when they were all sleeping. Right? There's ways to fool the supervisor. But that's why at the entrance to the restaurant, there should be a certificate which says this is every restaurant which is kosher has to have a kosher certificate, and the rabbis supervise that this is a kosher establishment. Can they be fooled? Yes, it's not foolproof, but we do our best. We do our best, and you can put people in jail if they try to fool you. In Israel, there's a law that if you serve something that's kosher, you say it's kosher and it's not, you could be put in jail.
Everybody can be fooled, even the non-Jewish people.
Everybody could be fooled.
Israel, you could be put in jail.
Yeah. If you say something's kosher and it's not really, you're in trouble.
Like in Amsterdam, there was one guy, he's not Jewish, he was selling meat. For 2 years he was selling human meat.
Oi, terrible.
Yes. So
where would he get human meat? That's terrible.
I don't know, it was his wife or something.
I don't know. His wife? He killed his wife?
Yes.
Chopped her up? Yeah. Sick. Okay. Yeah.
In the market,
Where's that?
Yeah.
there is a store that sells
Yeah.
It wasn't kosher. Right? It wasn't kosher.
What do they sell?
to begin with, right?
cheese.
Cheese, yeah.
So that would have been crazy.
The cheese, they also have inside plant all the cheese, no kosher.
That's right. You have to always, wherever you shop or wherever you want to go to eat or to shop for food, you have to look for the kosher certificate.
But they have only one rabbi that was together, and he says, "Don't buy here because
Really?
it's shit."
Oh, okay.
It's not all the
right.
products they have
Wow.
is kosher.
You have to make sure that if you're in charge of a Kashrut organization, you have to do a good job. You have to make sure that it's all kosher. Yeah.
Professional.
Yeah.
Regarding kosher supervision, let's say we go and buy honey, and the honey, according to the research, it's like 80% is just a syrup. And does the kosher supervision? It's a syrup. It could be kosher as well. So could it be? Does the rabbi make sure this is a real honey or?
Yes. Most in today's food industry, there are a lot of additives, a lot of processes where it's very rare to find pure food. Like even maple syrup, which says on it 100% maple syrup, you have to have kosher supervision. Why? I had this argument once with a relative of mine who was vegan. Vegan is they don't want to have any animal products. And they said, well, if it says 100%, then it's from the maple tree. It's 100%. What's the problem? And I said, no. It has to have kosher supervision. So we went onto the website. We looked. I looked it up on the internet, and I went to a vegan website, giving you instructions how to avoid any animal products. And they said, if you want to have, even if it says 100% maple syrup, you can't have it. Why? In some places, when they boil up the sap, the syrup, it gets too foamy, lots of foam on top, and it spills over. What they sometimes do is they take a sack full of ham, pork, and they put it into the bubbles, into the foam, so that it goes down. And so the vegan website says, if you want to be sure that it's 100% vegan, look for the little kosher sign. Yes. Because if it's a kosher sign, there's a rabbi that's going to make sure that they don't do that. So yes, you have to supervise many, many products. In the modern industry, the way it's the food industry is very, very developed, and sometimes they add in all sorts of things that you don't know about, and they're not kosher. So there's details. Even though something as simple as tomato paste.
No.
It's from tomatoes. But they add in this enzyme and this. They put it in this production process. So you always have to look for the kosher side. Okay.
Now, about the strawberry, many complain
About what?
strawberry.
Strawberries.
Many want.
We're going to have a lesson about the bugs. Yeah, we're going to have, that's another class. We're going to talk a whole class about the bugs. That's a problem. First thing we have to talk about now is we'll start talking about, let's say you have 100% kosher supervised meat. Okay, from a kosher animal. And they did everything that they're supposed to do. And then you have 100% kosher milk. Comes from a cow, and it's 100% kosher. The Torah has a special prohibition. Even though the meat is kosher and the milk is kosher, if you put them together, it's prohibited. You're not allowed to have a cheeseburger, we all know, right? You can't have meat and milk together. And this is strange, because the meat's kosher and the milk is kosher. It's a mixture which is forbidden. And the Torah says that this is forbidden not only from eating it, you're not allowed to cook it. You can't work in the restaurant that's going to be mixing up meat and milk. They want you to pour in some milk into your meat stew. Sorry, I'm Jewish. I can't do that. I didn't ask you to eat it. Doesn't matter. I'm not allowed to cook it. The Torah says 3 times the prohibition of meat and milk. Once to prohibit eating, once to prohibit cooking, and then the 3rd time teaches us that if you did or anybody cooked meat and milk, you're not allowed to have enjoyment from it. You're not allowed to have any benefit from it. That means you cannot own shares in McDonald's that are selling meat and milk together. Hamburgers, cheeseburgers. So shares might not be ownership, but if you're an owner of a restaurant, you're not allowed to have any benefit from it. You're not allowed to sell it. Let's say you have some meat and they got it by accident, mixed in some milk. It's a beautiful, delicious dish. Maybe I'll sell it to some non-Jews. Right? There's some Chinese people that are not Jewish. Right? There are a few. About 1.5 billion. They'll eat that non-kosher food. I'll make them a few bucks. Not allowed to. It's prohibited to have any benefit from a mixture of meat and milk. That's what the sages tell us. The Torah says 3 times not to have meat and milk. 1 to forbid eating it, 1 to forbid cooking it, 1 to forbid having benefit from it. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes, shoot.
Let's say hypothetically, Chas v'shalom, there are Jews that are involved in this business.
Oy.
Maybe one Jew.
Oy.
Chas
Chas
owns
v'shalom.
one McDonald's, Chas
Let's
v'shalom,
say, okay.
one place, Chas v'shalom.
Yeah.
And he's
Let's
going to
say.
continue doing his business
Yeah.
because he doesn't have the education
Right.
to understand
Right.
that it's not according to the Torah. So my question is,
You can't help him. You can't work there. You,
I'm not saying,
yeah.
my
What?
question is what is going to happen by, I don't know, what's inevitably going to happen to his business? Maybe he'll pass it down a generation, like eventually
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
something happen? Like eventually it'll be taken from him or eventually
We don't
he'll
always.
find out.
Yeah, we don't always see reward and punishment in this world. Usually we don't see, sometimes people can do a sin and they live happily ever after, as they say. Like you said, sometimes he didn't know any better, and so he won't be punished. Right? But it's a shame. But it's not our job to judge others. Our job is to try to do the right thing ourselves. To make sure for you don't have any part in eating or cooking or deriving benefit from a mixture of meat and milk. This is not true about everything we talked about up till now. What did we say we do with the back part of the legs of the animal? Sometimes we don't want to take out do the nikur. We don't want to separate out the forbidden parts. It takes away 10%, 20% of the animal's meat. It's not worth it for our time and expertise. Just sell it to a non-Jew. You're allowed to sell non-kosher meat to a non-Jew, just not meat and milk. Meat and milk is a special type of prohibition. In that way, it's more severe than all the forbidden blood and the forbidden fats and the forbidden non-kosher animals. What did we speak about? A mule, a donkey. You can't eat a mule or donkey, but you can sell it. You just can't eat it. Yes, according to the Torah, you can sell it. There's no prohibition. Only one exception is, we said the previous week, there's a prohibition in the vineyard. Mixing in a vineyard a different type of vegetable or fruit together with the vine, that is kilei hakerem in the vineyard, that is prohibited from benefit as well. That's like meat and milk. That's a very extreme. But all the others, they're just forbidden from eating. But you can sell them to a non-Jew.
Can I
One
sell?
second, there's a question before you. Yeah.
But is there time limited time after, for example, right now I'm drinking tea with milk, right? And then I want to eat meat. There's a time gap between them.
Very good question. Very good question. What we find is that the sages, they realize that this prohibition is so unique, so special. How do you say unique in Chinese?
特别
Yeah.
特殊
Cantonese, tosu. So special. Because the meat is kosher and the milk is kosher, but the Torah is very strict about it. So, does everybody have pork in your kitchen? Nobody has pork in your kitchen, right? Nobody has, shellfish in your kitchen. So there's no real danger that you're going to eat it. But milk, it's kosher, you have it in your kitchen. Meat, you have it in your kitchen. So the rabbi said, this is dangerous. People are so used to having meat and milk around, maybe they're going to come to eat it together. And so the rabbis made strictures. And they said, I'm going to tell you now about 3 of them. 3 rabbinic prohibitions about meat and milk. One is, after you eat meat, you have to wait for hours until you can eat milk products. We'll get to the details in a minute. There's a waiting period between eating meat and milk. After eating milk, there's a shorter wait. You have to clean out your mouth. Some people wait for half an hour. But there's also a separation between when you eat milk and when you eat meat. That's rabbinic. It's only prohibited from the Torah if you eat them together, like a cheeseburger. But if you eat one and then the other, the rabbi said you will have to separate.
So minimum is 1 hour.
No. There's details. I didn't say how long. The standard is 6 hours.
Yeah.
6 hours after meat, you cannot have a coffee with milk. 6 hours, yes, it's a long time. That's the standard. There's other opinions, but we'll talk about them another time. The second halacha is that you're not allowed to eat together, 2 people. One's eating meat and one's eating milk. Maybe you'll say, oh, this tastes so good, have a little bite. And maybe you'll share. So we have to make a separation between people that are eating meat and people that are eating milk. Also, we don't eat on the same table. So we need a separate tablecloth or a placemat for somebody who's eating meat and somebody who's eating milk. And the third halacha is that from the Torah, most rabbis feel that only what's forbidden from the Torah is red meat. Meat from cows or goats or sheep. But chicken is not forbidden from the Torah. But the rabbis forbid it as a stricture, also chicken. You can't have chicken and milk either. It's a rabbinic prohibition. There was some rabbis who allowed it. Some rabbis said it's forbidden from the Torah. But the consensus is, this is thousands of years, is that just like you don't eat meat, red meat, and milk, you don't eat chicken and milk together either. So we see that the rabbis added a lot of strictures, stringencies, because they were worried. Because meat is kosher and milk is kosher. And this mixture is very special and it's very severe. You're not even allowed to have any benefit from it. Not allowed to cook it, let alone eat it. So the rabbis added rabbinic prohibitions. Okay? Questions? Yes, Benjamin. Yeah.
One, maybe last 4 years, maybe we talked to you about bread and blood in Sweden. Remember?
You remind me?
Yeah.
What about blood?
The bakery put blood
in bread?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
It's a cake, right? It's a cake.
Really?
And sold to Jews. People in the community discover.
Why would anybody add blood to baked goods? I know that there is an ancient libel against the Jews. Anti-Semites said that Jews use blood to bake matzah. And the blood of Christian children. And they wanted to go and kill Jews because they said the Jews are killing Christian children. We all just learned that you're not allowed to drink blood. You're not allowed to use blood. Blood is not kosher. For sure, for matzah, for Pesach, it has to be only wheat and flour and water. This is a lie. It's called a libel, blood libel. And in many places, Jews were killed because of this false accusation. It's 100% false. Not allowed to eat blood.
Yeah, but theirs was.
If it happened, that's very strange. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Issy, maybe he knows also.
Oh, I'll ask him.
Along.
Interesting. Never heard of such a thing.
There's
Yes.
no
Just on the topic of Jews being killed, like
Yeah.
especially when it's known that they're Jewish.
Yeah.
In these cases in history, when Jews were
Yeah. They were killed for being Jewish.
specifically together and people knew they were Jewish and stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to like Jews protecting themselves,
Yeah.
and it says in the Mishnah like to put a fence around the Torah.
Okay.
Is there a commentary around like Jews maybe I don't know like should like try to have a gun license like to be encouraged
Right,
or they should
right,
be
right.
encouraged to I don't know
Sure.
have pepper spray or just
Sure.
something,
Absolutely. It's a big mitzvah to protect life, especially your own.
I mean it seems a little strange. Like,
We try to protect everybody's life, but also your own. So you're allowed to carry a gun.
Probably better not to
Sure. There's many ways, though, to
prevent things from like this from happening.
exactly. How do you prevent it from
Gets to
happening?
that level, I mean, you're talking
Exactly,
about
yeah.
lots of terrible things happening.
Right. Exactly. So
How do you
really,
de-escalate that?
ideally, the best thing is to fight anti-Semitism before it comes physical violence. You stop the edge. Security systems, and we have to protect ourselves, of course. I believe a couple of years ago, you might have heard of this. They created something called a Jewish state. And they even made a Jewish army. Some people say it's one of the strongest armies in the world to protect the Jewish people.
They're gonna kill us.
I'm not thinking. I hope they. We're Jewish people, so I don't think they're going to kill us. They every night they're busy. They're busy doing operations of all kinds to protect the Jewish people. So of course it's the greatest mitzvah to protect the Jewish people. If it takes guns, if it takes tanks, if it takes planes, if it takes cyber security, all the different types of warfare, we of course we should protect ourselves. Anyways, it was good to see you again, Josh. I understand that you're not staying very long.
So I'm leaving back to New York on Sunday.
Sunday. This is one of your last days.
Yeah.
So we wish you well.
Thank you.
Wish you well. I'd love to have a chat with you maybe before you leave. So we'll try to grab a few moments, okay?
Yeah.
So for today, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow the laws of meat and milk.